I don't use much velocity-based training for my own personal training. I don't have a Tendo unit or some other velocity-based training device in my garage, so I can't use it with my personal clients. I do use it sometimes with the athletes that I work with on campus. But I think that these velocity-based training zones that were popularized by GymAware are just fake, and I don't consider them at all when I program for velocity-based training. And I'm just using some random training clips of me using a Tendo unit on campus to overlay this video. So the way that I currently implement velocity-based training is a little bit different than the way I used to, and I think it's a little bit different than the way coaches currently use it. I used to give my athletes a velocity range to stay within during a given set. For example, I tell them I want them to move the bar between 0.6 and 0.75 meters per second for a given set. But it was always implied to move the bar as fast as you can during the concentric portion of the lift. Or what I would do is I would tell them to move faster than a prescribed speed. So for example, I'd say move the bar faster than 0.6 meters per second. And after doing it this way for several years, I ended up not really liking it at all. A lot of this was probably poor communication on my part, but what would often happen is an athlete would move the bar speed at the top end of the range, or they would move the bar significantly faster than the prescribed speed I wanted them to move. I'm sure other coaches have experienced this too. So the athletes would end up doing a working set that wasn't very productive because the speed was so high, it was borderline a warm-up set. So then they would make a small jump in weight, and the same thing would kind of happen. They're way too fast, so they make another small jump, and then by the end of it, they're doing all of their working sets with this light weight. So they weren't really getting much out of the working sets. Now I've changed the way that I implement velocity-based training. Now I give them a speed that I want them to shoot for or to aim for, not a speed that I want them to stay above. And I program heavier weights. I err on the heavier side, not on the lighter side. Now I want them to actually move slower than the prescribed speed. So for example, I tell them I want you aiming for 0.5 meters per second. And for most people, 0.5 meters per second is somewhere around that 80 to 85% of their 1 rep max. So that's a pretty good load for multiple working sets of doubles and triples that's not going to overly fatigue you. And I usually prescribe a weight that I want them to use for their first set anyways. Again, I just err on the heavier side, not on the lighter side. So if they move the weight at a slower speed than the prescribed speed, they'll keep the weight the same for the subsequent set. And they'll try to move the bar faster to aim for the speed that I gave them. And if they move the bar at or slightly above the prescribed speed, we're always going to add weight. This may seem like a really minor shift, but this minor shift in framing the way we use velocity-based training has made the working sets much more productive in my opinion. So I think that's a little bit different than the way that most people use velocity-based training. I just wanted to share that. And hopefully some of you guys find this little bit of information valuable. But that's all I got for the video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.